Dear learners, I extend a warm welcome to you for another session in our MOOC on population and society. In our last session during week 10, we discussed broadly on the issues of population growth and the environmental concerns. Today, as we move on to the 11th week of this MOOC, our focus will shift towards examining the population growth and change from the perspective of human capital and human development, along with the issues of sustainable development. So today's video is the first video for this week, and in this video we will discuss module 34. It is titled Population, Human Capital and Development. So before going on to the unit, let's go over the main objective for this module. So firstly, we'll try to explore the concept of population, development and human capital, and also try to understand the relationship between them. And secondly, we'll try to discuss how population growth can be both a resource and a constraint for human development. And thirdly, we'll try to understand the concept of human capital and its aid in the overall process of development of a nation. So we all know that population, human capital and development are intricately linked components of the socio-economic advancement of a particular place or nation. So in order to create policies and strategies that effectively promote sustainable development, it is imperative to comprehend how these factors interact. And now, before moving on to the intricacies of the relationship that exists between these concepts, let us take an overview and the meaning and definition of the concepts. So firstly, we'll talk about population. And throughout the modules, you must by now know that what population means and what it refers to. So I'll just summarize the concept. Population growth refers to the changes in the size, structure, and distribution of individuals in a particular place over time. And the key demographic factors include birth rates, death rates, migration pattern, and also the age distribution of the population. All these dynamics shape the demographic profile of a society, influencing its labor force, consumption patterns, and also about the resource utilization. Now, what is human capital? Human capital encompasses the knowledge, skills, health, and capabilities embodied within the individuals that, in a way contribute to their productivity and economic potential. So, investment in education, aspects like healthcare and skill development are very, very crucial for enhancing human capital. A highly skilled and healthy workforce drives the innovation, productivity gains, and also the overall economic growth and development of a particular nation. And lastly, development. So development denotes the improvement in the well-being and the living standards and the overall quality of life within the members of a society. It encompasses the economic growth, social progress, and environmental sustainability. Development as a concept is multidimensional. So it includes factors ranging from income levels to education attainment, healthcare access, infrastructure development, and environmental conservation. Mahbub-ul-Haq, a renowned Pakistani economist, made significant contributions to the field of development economics. He developed the concept of human development and is best known for his pioneering work on the Human Development Index, or HDI, which is a widely used measure of human development, and it takes into account the various factors beyond economic growth, such as health and education. In our next module, we will discuss the concept of human development in detail. So for now, after getting a brief understanding regarding the main concepts, let us move forward to understand how population or changes in population growth are related to human capital and development. Population is one of the crucial factors in the process of economic development of a country. The issues of population are related to many other facts, as I have already mentioned, such as demography, urbanization, gender, religion, nutrition, health, and so on. And human capital or resources are both the instrument and the goal of economic development. So, a large population implies the ability of more human resources as to work as factors or inputs, and it may raise the production potential, especially if other complementary resources are available. For instance, if you consider a large population, if given a proper direction to this population or to the individuals residing in a particular place, and there is a stimulating policy framework, it may as well be seen as something which is an effective determinant of having positive impact on the economic growth. The quality of education and as to how to raise its standard becomes critical issues in a country's drive to achieve higher levels of productivity and also to raise the country's competitiveness in the entire global area. So, however, if the policymakers they fail to achieve any substantial success in this area, a large and a growing population may become a permanent burden on the economy. And the growth of population worldwide has followed a pattern. So in our previous modules, we have also seen how the demography, transitions over a period of time. So it is like slow to begin with, accelerates at the middle because of health improvement in health sector and other such measures, and ultimately it slows down. But those nations which take a long time to move from the second stage to the third stage gets confronted with the problem of population explosion. Most of the densely populated development economies, like take India for instance, have been caught in this phase. There is an increasing population and it has proved a burden for the individuals residing there. Therefore, in such economies, a two-sided policy has to be pursued. One is to create more employment opportunities. On the other hand, to speed up the rate of economic growth by making and increasing use of the capital, both human as well as in terms of technology. While talking about increase in population growth, let us try to see how it can be a challenge to the development process of a nation in detail. Now, increasing population in most cases is considered as a retarding factor in the economic development of a country. High growth of population in a country creates numerous problems in the economy. It becomes a hindrance to the process of ensuring food, habitation for all the individuals. So the economic development of a country can be hampered due to this excessive pressure of the population. For instance, we can see that an increasing population always has the tendency of hindering the per capita income growth in the less developed countries. And it leads to inequalities in income distribution between the developed and the developing countries. And then it also slows down the growth of savings and capital investments, as well as the growth rate of the nation's gross national product. Since the per capita income is used as an indicator for measuring the level of standard of living, an economy with low per capita income is likely to retard the process of development. Published data of India shows that in the last 50 years of planning the national income of a country, it has increased by around 3.6% per annum. But we also have to note that at the same time, the per capita income has increased only by 1.5% per annum. Thus, the slow growth of per capita income in India is caused by, as we can see, by the rapid growth of population. Secondly, an increase in rural to urban migration tends to lead to a situation in which the rural areas are left underdeveloped since people move to the urban areas in search of jobs, education, and other opportunities, and basically, for a better life. This results in the strengthening up of the urban areas, while on the other hand, the rural areas are left neglected. This also happens in the case of international migration. Migration of highly educated and skilled workers from the less developed countries to the developed countries also results in the stagnating the economic development of the parent countries. Population growth also competes with the capital formation of a country. A large population leads to a low per capita income, which in turn leads to a low savings and low capital formation. So this is the third challenge which we face because of growth in population. And due to low capital formation, the development projects cannot get financed properly as they require a massive amount of investment. In such situations, the economic development of a country altogether slows down. Then, if we consider a different instance like the growth of population, it's likely to increase the dependency ratio of the population. That is, a large number of children and old people than the economically active sections of the population. This might raise the problem of inadequate nutrition. Then a rapidly growing population also leads to the problem of shortage of food supply. In spite of that fact that a large section of population is engaged in agriculture, people do not even get the minimum subsistence level of food. Even if the self-sufficiency in food production is attained, due to improper distribution, individuals, they do not get the sufficient food and nutrition to sustain or maintain their good health. Another challenge is that rapid population growth leads to a pressure on the available social infrastructure, which is a very big challenge in mostly the less developed countries. Children here cannot have adequate access to proper education, healthcare, and other social facilities. Such low standard of living in turn slows down the pace of the economic development. And another problem, which is, it's a big problem in our country, that is of massive unemployment. And it is created in the economy by the growth of population, which retards the process of economic development of a country. New jobs are to be created for new hands when there is an increase in the size of population, but we all know that it is not easy to create jobs for all. And thus, many individuals, their economic standards lower, or they do not get the necessary measures for their equitable place in the society. And thus, poverty is an inevitable condition in the situation of high growth of population in the country. Poverty, in a way, slows down the pace of development in country. And population growth places a greater strain on carrying the capacity of land as well as food supply and habitation, resulting in increasing stress of the available resources to achieve a higher rate of agricultural growth and also to obtain high standards of living. Now, again, we can see that the same population growth, if managed with suitable and efficient policy, can also become an asset or resource towards overall development. So, for instance, the increasing population opens up some new scope for development. If we talk about population growth as a resource, it kind of increases the market size with a resultant increase in the consumer goods, which automatically increases the aggregate demand in the economy. A rise in the aggregate demand inspires business expectation, which in turn accelerates the process of development. Because of high population growth, a country may be in a position to divert a large portion of its labor force towards capital creating projects. In such a situation, disguised unemployment may become an opportunity, as it enables the transfer of huge available surplus labor force of agricultural sector to capital creating projects without adversely affecting the agricultural production. And secondly, the growth of population leads to an increased supply of labor in an economy. The abundance of labor supports the labor intensive industries to grow, leading to a rapid growth in the manufacturing sector. Growth of the manufacturing sector means development of an economy. So these two processes go hand in hand. And also, if due to the population growth, the proportion of economically active population increases sizably, it helps the economy in terms of demographic dividends, leading to faster economic development, which will help countries like India to attain the level of the developed countries. And also, if increasing people are channelized by proper training and skill, it paves the way to form human resource in the economy and opens up the scope for economic development. In such cases, growth of population is to be considered as an asset instead of a liability to the economy. These points now bring us to understand the importance of human capital and how by investing more and more on it, the society and state can move further into the arena of economic growth and the overall development of a nation. Now, we come to our next concept, and this is to understand human capital and development in detail. Now, I have already told you about the significance and the meaning of human capital. So, as we know that the significance of human capital in a driving economic prosperity has undergone many fluctuations over time. So, in the first half of the 20th century, human capital received less emphasis compared to the accumulation of physical capital. And physical capital, it includes cash, property, and other resources. And the prevailing theories prioritize the accumulation of physical assets as the primary driver of economic growth, and it led to a widespread acceptance of capital fundamentalism. However, it was only in the 1960s that there was a growing interest in the recognition of the role of human capital and what role it plays in the society. So initially, attention was drawn to how human capital contributed to individual standard of living and overall wealth. And subsequently, focus shifted towards understanding its broader impact on aggregate economic growth and development of a society. The seminal works of scholars like Schulz and Becker played a pivotal role in redirecting attention towards human capital. They talked about human capital in the form of education and how education can bring the economy of a particular nation towards the standard of developed economies. Schulz, for instance, he narrowly defined human capital as investment in education and argued that the significant increases in national income stemmed from concentrating on this form of capital. Defined human capital as investment in education and argued that the significant increases in national income stemmed from concentrating on this form of capital. He contended that investments in education were instrumental in driving the rise in per capita income in the United States. So his study was based on the United States, and the birth of his idea can be traced to the presidential address of Schulz to the American Economic Association in December 1960. He also propounded the human capital theory and laid a strong foundation for treating education as an investment in human beings and for treating it as an important source for economic growth and progress. According to the human capital theory, education transforms raw human beings into productive human capital by imparting knowledge and inculcating skills required by both the traditional sector as well as the modern sector in the economy. It thus makes individuals more productive members of the society, not only in the marketplace, but also in the household and the whole society. Available evidence in almost all the countries, including India, establishes significant positive association between proportion of people below the poverty line and proportion of illiterate persons. Later, Becker in 1964 broadened the concept of human capital from that of formal schooling to include additional sources of human capital accumulation such as on-the-job training and specific and informal gathering of information that enhances a worker's productivity and other investments to improve the emotional and physical health of individuals. Mankiw, Romer, and Will in 1992 provided theoretical support for the pivotal role of human capital in the process of economic growth. Their model demonstrated that incorporating human capital into the aggregate production function led to the income shares for factors of production that aligned with the empirical observations. The augmented solo model developed by them emphasized the importance of both human as well as physical capital accumulation. It suggested that variations in income per capita across countries could be attributed to differences in savings, education, and population growth, a proposition validated through empirical analysis. Furthermore, their research also outlined the transition to a steady state and offered estimates of the rate at which economies converge towards the equilibrium of a state. Now, after knowing about human capital in the form of education, let us also see the influence and the importance of health factors which contributes to the human capital. So we know that across countries, per capita GDP is positively correlated with indicators for health. For instance, the life expectancy at birth, birth weight, and height. The link between health and income is bidirectional. From a theoretical standpoint, endogenous growth theories have stressed the role of human capital for productivity advances, as said by Lucas in his study. Healthier individuals are more productive, they can learn more in the school, and because they live longer, they face enhanced incentives to accumulate human capital, which ultimately causes long-run economic growth. And moreover, under standard assumptions on individual preferences, as people get richer, the marginal utility of consumption declines, and the income effect pushes towards more life-saving activities such as health. From an empirical standpoint, there exists strong evidence for a bi-directional link between health and income. However, the magnitude of these effects is limited, especially when the object of analysis is to investigate the cross-sectional differences. Weil in his study points out that other or the unobserved factors which simultaneously raise income and improve the health outcomes, such as institutional quality and education, are responsible for the positive observed health-income correlation. In the recent decades, healthcare costs, as we all know and have seen, have been on the rise across both developed and developing nations. For instance, in the US, healthcare has become a significant industry, amounting to a staggering $3 trillion, constituting nearly 18% of the GDP. Despite this accelerating cost, there has been a noticeable increase in the longevity globally. Since 1950, life expectancy at birth has surged over by 10 years in Northern America and Europe, and by approximately 25 years in the African and Latin American countries. Concurrently, fertility rates have plummeted significantly over the past few decades, reaching a historically low level. As a result, near half of the world's population resides in countries with below replacement fertility rates, that is 2.1 children per woman. The demographic shift towards an aging population has placed substantial strain on the pension, healthcare, and elderly care systems worldwide. The old age dependency ratio in developed countries currently stands at around 25% and is projected to double by the end of the century. According to the World Population Aging Report by the United Nations in 2015, the number of individuals aged 60 and above are anticipated to surge by 56% till 2030. surpassing the population of children aged 0 to 9. This aging trend is particularly advanced in Europe and North America, where individuals ages 60 and over already comprise more than a fifth of the population, a figure expected to exceed a quarter by 2030. Consequently, these trends present a significant challenge to the sustainability of unfunded pension system, which struggle to provide adequate income support, and similarly, the sustainability of current healthcare expenditures faces challenge due to the population aging. Cipriani and Fironi delve into the role of government within this context, and they examine how governmental policies on health and pensions could elevate an economy from a low-income equilibrium to a high-income one. It is increasingly acknowledged that health and education are closely intertwined in their contributions to economic growth, as well as they play a role in the human capital accumulation. So from this understanding, we can sum up that human capital, both in the forms of health and education, play a fundamental role in determining economic progress and productivity, facilitating the human capital accumulation. The state can play an important role by investing in health, reducing the healthcare cost to achieve a sustainable development and prosperity. So with this, I end today's module, and we'll see you again in the next. Thank you.